we all love some good music? Really sets the mood. Oh, well, hello there, and welcome to It's About Time. I am your fabulous host, Geordie, and that was music literally to my ears by the one and only Sophie Walsh, a very talented young lady indeed. Now, I can't wait to introduce today's guest onto my wonderful couch. But first, let us go to the news with my good friend Joe.
Hello. Right, it's the BT. Wait, it's the BT. Okay. As soon as it's finished, they'll give me a countdown for this. As soon as it's finishing, Come on.
Hello and welcome to the news with me, Joe. Today we are pretending it's 1945. Here are the top stories of the year. It has been confirmed that the Yalta Agreement has been signed by global leaders in order to put an end to the war. All countries want to get this deal rolling so that we can see the beginning of the end of the war. The Allies have now invaded Germany and are beginning to push out the German forces. So far, they have taken control of many concentration camps and captured thousands of Nazis who have tried fleeing to Poland and are now imprisoned. More than 1 million German soldiers have officially surrendered to the Western Allies in Italy and Austria. Truman has been elected President of the USA. After the unfortunate death of ex-President Roosevelt, who was the longest-serving president in American history, and with the breaking news today, Hitler has died. We have more on this story with Hannah, who is live in Berlin outside Hitler's old apartments.
Cause of death is unknown. I'm here outside of the Prince Karl Palais, Hitler's former residence, where thousands of people are due to gather in celebration of his death. This news is putting pressure on Germany to surrender to the Allies, giving the world hope that this war is soon to be over. I will be reporting more on this later.
Although I don't know what you were doing on that balcony. Now, in other news, the first of all electronic computer is completed. We all know what a huge moment this is for technology. It marks the start of a technical era. We wouldn't be here today if it hadn't created in the music charts. Frank Sinatra's Put Your Dreams Away has beaten Judy Garland's The Heart of Mine to claim the #1 spot, pleasing Sinatra's fan base, also known as Housewives. Bess Mearson from New York has been crowned the new Miss America, beating women from other states. The Academy Award for Best Picture went to Leo McCarey's Going My Way, an amazing comedy movie starring the one and only Bing Crosby. So give that a watch if you haven't already. World heavyweight champion Joe Louis is discharged from the US Army. We hope to see him back in action soon. Gordell Hull was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his help in creating the United Nations, which we now know is the most important organization in the whole world. Well, that's all we have time for today. Back to you, Jordan.
Wow. Thank you for that wonderful news report, Joe. What a lovely guy. Some very interesting pieces of information there, very important, very relevant. Anyway, on to something just a bit more important. Today, I will be bringing back the well-renowned Elizabeth Lee Miller. who made global history by bathing in Hitler's bathtub. I can't wait to interview her live on air. Let's take a look at the wonderful life before we welcome this goddess onto my couch.
A strange-looking carving by the modern sculptor Henry Moore watches the arrival of a young lady whose comings and goings make news. The name is Lee Miller, press photographer, just back from gathering scopes on the continent. Roland Penrose, surrealist artist now in the Army camouflage section, welcomes her back and helps her to get rid of the baggage she's had to hump round on her news-getting jobs. There's been an addition to the Miller household, a kitten born while she was away. Beneath one of Penrose's modern pictures, she settles down to make friends with the new arrival. Also, while Lee was away, her latest book, Wrens and Camera, has been brought out. Now she gets her first look at the result. All over Europe, Lee Miller has travelled, getting pictures that have made readers of Vogue sit up, and editors of other magazines kick themselves that she wasn't on their staff instead.
The Academy Award-winning actress who plays Apple marketing whiz Joanna Hoffman in Danny Boyle's awards contender Steve Jobs will now portray American fashion model, artist, and war correspondent Elizabeth Lee Miller in an untitled screen story about the woman. Troy Lum and Andrew Mason of Hopscotch Features are producing the drama, which is based on the biography The Lives of Lee Miller, written by Miller's son, Anthony Penrose.
Ordinarily, pretty deep, beauty lingers out of reach. You're my DCOE. Mind me went cray over you, capturing, never captured. You're my
And may I welcome Miss Elizabeth Lee Miller. Oh, very nice to meet you.
Thank you, it's lovely to meet you too.
Okay, I've got to admit, I am just a bit fangirling right now. I am a huge fan. Can you believe right now, everybody here, Miss Elizabeth Lee Miller. I hope you had a safe journey here anyway.
It was alright. Where am I? Like, who are you?
It is an honour to have you here on my couch. I am Jordan, you may call me Geordie, and this is my show. You are about to be a guest, and it's about time. Thank you, Miss Miller, for being here.
Please call me Lee. There's no need for formalities.
Oh, Miss Lee, I'm terribly sorry, but you're indoors. You can't smoke.
What's the world come to, not allowing people to smoke inside? It's okay.
Terribly sorry about that. But, well, let's get on with it. To begin this interview, would you like to tell us a bit about your early life and careers?
Well, I started modelling quite young. I was only 7. It was mostly for my father. He was a photographer. I moved to Paris after a while, some personal issues that I had. I studied fine art. I studied fine art in the 1920s. I only did it for a short while, and then I returned to the US. And this is when I hit rock bottom. I remember the incident quite well. I was 19, and I was about to step out into the traffic.
And who was it who helped you?
I was saved by Condé Nast, who was the publisher for Vogue at the time.
So a very prestigious person.
Yeah, he really launched my career. He helped me. I ended up on the front of Vogue from that point onwards through that connection I made from him. I mean, I owe him my life.
So it was a very lucky coincidence, don't you think?
Yeah. But so, like, after modelling back in the US, there was a slight breakdown of my career. I think I was about 23 at the time. I tracked down Man Ray. You must know of him. He's one of the most famous surreal photographers of the world. And I announced to him that I was going to be his student. I told him, because he didn't take on like apprentices as such.
So you were one of the first people to work with such a prestigious photographer, one who had never taken on an apprentice before.
No, I worked with him till 1932.
1932.
Yeah, and then I went back to the US. That was when World War II broke out. And then I moved to London. Instead of going home, I decided to become like a war correspondent for the US and a photographer. So that was difficult. And I travelled around then with David Sherman. But, you know, that time.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, there is a rumour going about.
Okay.
Now, this is to do with your relationship with Man Ray.
Yes.
It was said that he once slashed your throat with a razor. Now, this was after a dispute, I believe, over you trying to claim the rights to your own work, the work that you had obviously built over years of experience and quite a lot of hardship. There's definitely some luck in there, but is this true?
I don't really want to go into it, honestly, with anybody at any point in time, but Man Ray was an extremely controlling person. He didn't like sharing what he'd helped create. He was extremely egotistic.
So he was a selfish man.
Yes, very selfish.
Well, nevertheless, that was quite the start to your career, and it definitely set you as a person, as a strong-minded person who always persevered. Now, how did people react to such a beautiful young woman as yourself working in a male-dominated industry?
Well, there's a lot of negative responses from many people who believe my place was in front of the camera rather than behind one. Like I was an object. But over years, I've been privileged to work with some very talented people. Like, even though the incident with Man Ray, like, still to work with him, it gave me some respect. And when I had that support and I'd built that group around me, and these very influential people at the time were supporting me and were showing that I could be behind the camera and not just in front of it smiling.
So it wasn't just a one-man show, it
No,
was
it
an
was-
entire orchestra.
Yeah, I ended up working with Picasso and so many other people, and just because I'm a woman, it doesn't mean that I'm weak. I'm a survivor of many things, such as sexual abuse. I survived through the war. I was in the front line capturing the real moments that was happening. I went to the camps in Germany and took photographs. I remember going down the road once and I just saw this big pile of bones, and at the time of the war where I was, you don't really think too deep into it, and then I later found out that day that that was actually the bones of starved Jewish people. And a woman can see them things, it doesn't take a man.
So you weren't just a spearhead in the industry you set out to be in, you were a spearhead in the war, because it was important for people to see those things, wasn't it?
It was very important. It's a tricky situation because obviously being a woman, getting myself into them positions, you get questioned far more than if you was a man. And I think just being out there shows enough to people. But a lot of the photos were filtered propaganda, which you know now. So it was difficult getting the right content out to people.
Well, no matter what the outcome of your situation was, you were an absolute inspiration to the people, to both men and women alike, because you showed that equality was important, and as it is and has always been. Now, can you describe how it was documenting such a horrific war?
It was awful. It was a great experience, but it was awful. I witnessed things that I'm scared will haunt me for life. I saw the horrors our troops had to go through, all the violence, the pain. It was terrible.
Yeah, suffering was everywhere and everybody was impacted.
I saw an SS guard commit suicide. A man who was so strong kill himself. And like I said about the bones in the road, them things, they
never leave your mind.
They don't go away. But one of the best things that I discovered, one of the best things that I did with that time, that part of my career, was going to Hitler's apartment. That was a remarkable moment. And seeing how that man lived, it was strange because you sort of, when you read things about him and all the things he's in control of, and the way he treats people, and what he does to them, how brutal it is, you sort of disconnect him from actually being a real person. And I think going to into his apartment and seeing like, wow, he was an actual person. He lived a life.
Just like the rest of us.
Yeah, it's overwhelming, very overwhelming.
Now, right here, I have some of your most famous pictures. Would you mind having a look?
Yeah.
Now, this is obviously yourself.
Mhm.
Very beautiful.
Thank you.
This was you in the war, taking photographs, obviously, not only of other people, but of yourself, which is interesting to me because I always find that you need to understand the person behind the camera before you can understand what they're taking pictures of.
Yeah.
Now, these are the pictures that everybody, and I mean everybody, has been talking about. And this is you in Hitler's bathtub.
Yeah.
Camera. Camera one close.
These were, like I said, it was so bizarre to be in that place, and just knowing that this thing, I wouldn't even call him a man, lived there. Just little things like I walked through his kitchen, just like he
Yes.
does something as terrible as what he did with the concentration camps, but he still went home and he ate. He had a shower. He lived a normal life alongside what he was doing.
Well, I guess, in my opinion, this just shows that no matter how evil, good, righteous, wrong, no matter who you are, where you come from, there's only the necessity of life that matters. The necessity of having to eat, bathe, go to the latrine.
Well, we weren't sure about where the apartment was, but a German man actually took us up and he told us it was, like, where it was. And it was strange. I had this feeling like we wanted to mock him. He thought of himself as like a really powerful individual. He thought he was indestructible. He was a powerful individual who dominated people. He had no respect for race and religion, and most of all women.
Some say he almost thought of himself like a god.
Yeah, he did. So, what's a better way to mock a man who has such disregard for people than to like flaunt the femininity, to be naked in a bathtub, his bathtub.
Now, some people say that, obviously, because of the times you're in, that these are all way too sexual for the eyes of the public.
Well, it's not sexual. It is to an extent, but a noose round my neck by his shower, it's not all about the body. It's about the message that it's portraying. The way, like I said about how casual, like he actually had a life. So tying a noose around my neck, using something that's completely normal to his everyday life and showing how evil it is and how that evil doesn't go away.
Well, I can tell you one thing which is certain. You have made history taking that photograph. Absolute history. People have been talking about that photo for years and years, and they will continue talking about it for years to come because of how upfront and strong the message you're sending is. This is truly, truly remarkable. You are quite the sensation. Even now, after all these years, you've inspired people. There's a movie based upon your life, if you didn't know.
I didn't. Wow.
Books written, songs sung. You're a martyr in the eyes of the people. You took something huge and impacted people's lives by using your own media, your own self, to portray it. Now, thousands of people have seen this and have been inspired, and many of those people are young women who want to do what you did. they want to make a difference. Now, Elizabeth Lee Miller, you have really left your mark on the world.
I honestly had no idea. But thank you very much.
Indeed. Wow, you are really quite womanly. Thank you for coming all this way to chat. You have been the most amazing guest I have had on this show in a long time. As I said, I am a really big fan of your work, as are many of the people here and around the world. It was an honor to have you on my couch today, truly. Now, unfortunately, that is all the time we have today. Thank you for tuning in today. It's about time.